Hello and welcome to this quick tutorial. I'll show you how to create simple projectile-based shooting mechanics. And we're going to start by creating two sprites. And we will create one sprite for the player, and we will also create one sprite for our bullet. Let's create two objects. We'll make one player character and one bullet. And the player is going to contain the player sprite, and the bullet is going to contain, well, you guessed it, the bullet sprite. And let's start by making our player character, and the player character is going to have a cooldown of 30 steps, and that's half a second. And we're also going to add a boolean which is called enable fire, and we're going to set it to true. So this is used to determine how long the player has to wait after firing, and this is going to determine if the player is allowed to fire its weapon again. Now we're going to go to our step event, and we're going to equal the player's image angle to the point direction of his X and Y position relative to the mouse X and mouse Y position. And image angle is a default GameMaker variable, which is why it turns green. If we were to create a variable, say, I don't know, var1 equals, it's going to show up, var_l equals no one, it's going to be yellow if it's a local variable, and if it's not, it's going to be blue. Anyway, it's going to be green in this case because it's a default variable in GameMaker that's already exists and is built in. So what we want to do first is check if the player is actually firing a bullet, or actually if he wants to fire a bullet. So first we're going to check if the mouse button is pressed. And we'll use mouse button left. And if it is pressed, we're going to check if the player is actually allowed to fire his weapon. And note that you won't have to do this because it's already true, because it's a boolean. And also make sure that this is actually true and not false. If it is false, you'll have to call an alarm event, which is a timer, right away. Otherwise, it will never be set to true, and it will always be stuck on false. And obviously, you don't want that. Alright, anyway, if the player is allowed to fire, we'll create an instance of the bullet. So we'll say instance create layer, and this function takes 4 parameters, and it's going to take our X and Y position and a layer, which is called instances, and it's also going to require an object, because which object do we want to instantiate? Well, we want to instantiate our bullet. Alright, so instances is the default layer of a room. When you create a room, it will always contain an instance layer, which is called instances, and a background layer, which is called background. Alright, so after we created a bullet, we're going to call an alarm, which is equal to the cooldown. And we're also going to trigger enable fire to false. Oh, I missed my bad. Make sure you have 2 closing parentheses here, or your function is going to mess up your code. Alright, so that's it for the player character. Let's actually see what this does. You see that we can now rotate the player, and well, when we click, we can create a bullet. But we can't actually when we clicked once, there actually won't be another bullet, so we'll have to create an alarm for that. And in here we're going to say enable fire equals true, so the player can fire again. Also, let me just center these sprites. We obviously want the player to rotate around the center, otherwise he just moves out of position, and we don't want that. So right now we can create our instances for our bullet. Now to create the bullet itself, we're going to add a create event, and we're going to say speed equals 5, image angle equals obj player.image angle, and the direction equals the player's direction. Alright, so let's see what happens. Oh, sorry. We never actually set the player's direction. We only set the image angle. Right, and there you go. There you have basic shooting mechanics. And yeah, maybe I'll create a part 2 for this in which we'll add enemies and stuff, but for now I'll just keep it this way. I hope the video was useful for you. If you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. And good luck.